Hey guys, Brent Porcio, TopVelocity.net. Wanted to do a quick video on how the arm path works with the trunk path or works with the momentum of the body. I don't think people really understand the importance of how the trunk and the momentum must build ahead of the arm, or like for a hitter, ahead of the bat. So that's what we're gonna go over today. So let's go into hitting. A lot of times when you're talking about the kinetic chain, the hitting movement, the hitting timing and sequencing seems to be an easier understanding than the throwing sequencing and timing. So I like to use the hitting delivery, the hitting movement, and break that down when I'm trying to understand how the kinetic chain is working in the pitching delivery. It just, for some reason, opens your eyes because it's a simpler movement. So for example, a good hitter, a power hitter, a strong hitter, is going to always try to keep the bat loaded behind the trunk. Meaning, if I'm shifting my weight and I'm throwing my hands ahead of my hips and of my trunk, then I'm gonna hit the ball out here. There's no power out here because it's all in your arms, right? Where's the power with the bat? It's behind the hips, behind the trunk. So if my hips are open and my trunk is coming around, where are my hands? Loaded back, right? Because that's where power is, that's that pulling power here. No power out here, right? You ever had a coach put your hands out, put their hand on the bat and make you try to push against it, and then pull your hands back and put the hand right here and you push against it, and you have all that power because you're using the body, you're using the hips, you're using the trunk to power the bat through, as opposed to just the arms. See, this is no power. This is all your power because the bat is behind the trunk, the momentum of the body. It's behind it, and that momentum and that your body is pulling the power of the bat through the zone. So you're going to be a better power hitter the more you stay loaded back as you transfer energy through the kinetic chain, and then you release that energy through the bat last second. It's no different throwing a baseball. It's just with throwing a baseball, you don't have the leverage of the bat. So you have to do a better job of keeping the arm loaded behind the hips, behind the trunk. And then we'll talk about what can go wrong if you don't time it correctly. So for example, if I'm a pitcher, a low velocity pitcher is going to want to open early and get their arms out. So they're going to want to try to generate velocity out here. Same thing like the bat, like out here. There's no power out here. The power is back here behind the trunk delivering the arm. So you got to look at where the arm path, the arm path has to stay behind the trunk. It has to stay back like the bat. It had to stay back here. Like the arm, it's got to stay back here so the body, the momentum can carry it through. So you don't want to ever be in a position where you're landing, your arms up early, you're open, and everything gets out early, or you're pushing everything out early, and you're trying to generate your velocities in front of your face. It'd be the same thing with the bat, of trying to like reach out and hit the ball out in front of your body, okay? So the key things like hip to shoulder separation, right? Pulling the trunk back. That gets the end of the chain, the arm path behind the hip, behind the trunk. And then when the trunk comes around, that's the layback. The layback puts your arm behind the trunk going forward. It allows the trunk to go more forward, which studies show 86% of the energy going to the arm is coming from the trunk. So now it allows that trunk to build all that energy to the arm, as opposed to the arm trying to create the energy. It'll never do it. We also know the study by Keebler and Chandler that a 20% decrease of the kinetic energy coming up through your body, through that hip, through that trunk, a 20% decrease of that energy, now you got to create 34% of an overcompensation of energy in the rotational velocity of the shoulder just to put the same force in the ball. So what's that showing you? If I don't keep the arm behind the back, behind the trunk and I let it get out early, I'm having to almost double my energy just to keep the same force in the ball. And you can just imagine when I was saying what could go wrong if I do that. Now I'm putting too much stress on my arm. Now, a lot of times guys don't know how to separate. So they don't know how to separate. So their hips and shoulders are coming, but they still want to keep the arm behind the momentum of the body. So what they do, as opposed to the shoulders staying closed, they let the arm pull back into what's called hyperangulation, way behind the back to keep the arm behind the trunk. Now it works for velocity, but it doesn't work for arm health. So there's some real negatives with this. You can't, with the bat, if your hips and trunks flew open and you try to keep your bat back here, well, you probably wouldn't hit as well. It'd probably really mess up your consistency, but it wouldn't be as detrimental to the health of your upper body. For example, like I said, when this gets behind your back, if your hips and shoulders are coming together and this gets behind your back, you're destroying the front of your shoulder and even your elbow because of that. So with pitching, you know, to really use that approach of keeping the arm loaded behind the momentum of the body, you also have to make sure you're optimizing hip to shoulder separation. If not, it could be detrimental to the health of your arm. So I hope that video helps. Just a good understanding of how from hitting to pitching, if you keep the bat loaded behind the momentum of the body, just like you keep the arm loaded behind the momentum of the body, it's going to allow you to better transfer energy up the kinetic chain and get a better result, not just in velocity, but also in the health of your arm. So hope that helps. If you have any questions, let me know.